Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Michelle December, and I'm the Director of Learning and Engagement here at the Contemporary Art Museum. This is one of my absolute favorite programs. Give it up also for yourselves. Thank you for being here. This is a very exciting weekend for us as we open the exhibition, Jacolby Satterwhite, Spirits Roaming Upon the Earth. But really what we're here to do is to have a fabulous evening that is a partnership between CAM and Opera Theater of St. Louis in a program that we've put together called Artwork and Arias, and I have the pleasure of giving you the house welcome tonight. And tonight's program is not only presented with Opera Theater St. Louis, but has support from the Center for a Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Equity at Washington University in St. Louis. So when CAM and Opera Theater started conversations about how could we possibly think about connections between our two art forms, we thought it would be kind of a stretch to think about how opera and contemporary art could be in dialogue. Trey was already ahead of this and knew that there is much more in common. And actually, really, the fact that there's deep human connections that exist when we explore different forms through art. And so we've had a lot of fun figuring out how programs that Opera Theater are presenting are in dialogue with programming that we have here at the museum. And for this season, we were really excited to notice the intersection around ball culture and voguing. So if you haven't had a chance to see the exhibition, Jacolby Satterwhite's exhibition that's behind us, or in front of you, behind me, and in all of the galleries on our ground floor, please, please, please do so. But really what we're excited to present tonight is a very sneak preview before the premiere of Madison Lodge, which we will hear about shortly. We also are going to be welcomed by the legendary Meko Lee Burr, who's going to be in conversation with Tre'von Griffith, who's the composer and librettist of the opera that you'll get to hear a taste of tonight. And we will also be treated to a presentation of voguing, so stay attentive. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? I want to tell you also big thanks to the people who really make this program possible. First, the artists that make everything possible and our inspiration, so I would love to give them a big round of applause for the artists and the creators in all of their various forms. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to Nicole Ambos-Reber, who is my partner in this program, and Linda Holyoke, who is, I think, in the front. So, oh, there's Linda. So we'll give a big thank you to them from Opera Theater St. Louis who made this possible. And now I would love to call up Andrew Jorgensen, who's the General Director of Opera Theater St. Louis, to introduce Tre'von Griffith and the opera that has called us together tonight. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We're so grateful to you for your leadership in planning tonight's event. I also want to thank the Executive Director of the Contemporary Art Museum, Lisa Melandri, and the entire staff at the museum for welcoming us for these partnerships and for welcoming us back this evening. And thank you for all the work that you're doing in St. Louis. It's a pleasure to be here for the second year of Artwork and Arias. We are excited to center our artistic work in the St. Louis community and to be in dialogue with the region's leading cultural institutions. As Michelle mentioned, our collaboration today encompasses not just CAM, but also Washington University's Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Equity as part of Opera Theater's Belonging in Opera series. Tonight's program is uniquely suited to exploring the intersection of art and of the community because the composer who joins us is not only a St. Louis native, but also a creator in Opera Theater's 2023 New Works Collective. For this initiative, in 2022, just over a year ago, a group of 10 St. Louis artists and activists reviewed applications from more than 130 artists and selected 3 composer and librettist teams to commission 20-minute-long original operas. The New Works Collective is designed to welcome new voices to opera, both as creators and as decision makers. The artist who is with us tonight is both composer and librettist, and in fact, I think he is incredibly talented across as many genres as we might name. Tre'von Griffith, better known as Trey G, is a musician, a composer, a creative producer, and music director who has worked locally with the Repertory Theater of St. Louis, the Shakespeare Festival, the St. Louis Black Rep, and COCA, amongst many others. In 2020, he formed WorkFest, an arts and culture festival in St. Louis, celebrating Black queerness. His opera, Madison Lodge, tells the story of an individual who discovers their authentic self when they find drag ball culture. As we consider what's happening across this region, in the Missouri State Legislature, and across our country, it seems more important than ever to uplift stories like Madison Lodge. Stories that amplify marginalized voices, that celebrate authenticity, and that invite individuals to show up as their true selves in all spaces. We are incredibly excited that the world premiere of Madison Lodge will be staged along two other new works, Cook Shack and Slanted, an American rock opera, on March 16th, 17th, and 18th at the Catherine B. Burgess Theater at COCA. We're in the middle of tech rehearsals. I'm especially grateful to our artists for joining us tonight because they had a very long day in tech rehearsals. I'm grateful also our choreographer, the brilliant Kervin Douthit Boyd, came to join us this evening after a long day. Thank you for coming to show up to support our creators and to support this work here this evening. Tickets are moving quickly. That's the plug. Tickets are moving quickly. If you don't, a lot of people have told me they're coming. But if you don't get a ticket soon, you may not actually be able to make good on that intention. I hope that you will be in the audience with us next week to hear these three works and to celebrate the extraordinary creators who are bringing them to the stage. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It is my pleasure to welcome Trey G.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is such a pleasure to be here with you this evening to talk about Madison Lodge. Madison Lodge has been a baby of mine, I guess, over the last 10 months or so, since we started the commission. And I am so honored to be able to share a sneak preview of it tonight for the first time. I'm really excited about telling such an important story, as Andrew so graciously said earlier. The inspiration for it came from the desire to tell stories that are often untold. And today, in culture that we know of it as today, it is very influenced by Black queer culture. The lexicon that we speak, shade, you work, you better move, or you better work, all of those things came from Black queer culture. But we don't necessarily be able to pinpoint where it actually came from and not giving homage to that history. So I hope to be able to create more stories after this. Madison Lodge is centered around the character X, who moved from the South, who migrated to Harlem in the middle of the Harlem Renaissance. It's actually really cool. I was doing some research and I came across a figure named Gladys Bentley, who was a famous drag king. And we hear a lot about drag queens, but we don't really hear about the drag kings. And it was centered around this idea of having space where you can be your true, authentic self. And I think that is a universal thing across people because everybody just wants to be seen for exactly who they are. So the story follows X all the way from the South and meets his sister who has already been living in the wonderful world of Harlem during this time and introduces him to the world of drag ball. Later we'll get a chance to actually talk about exactly what that means. But she introduces him to drag balls and literally he finds himself and be able to love himself as his true, authentic self. This first piece that you will hear is literally the first moment that X jumps off of the train to meet Sister. After that, you will be following song will be X's aria from the opera. X is played by the wonderful Namarie Randolph-Garcia, and the Sister is played by Olivia Johnson, and tonight they will be accompanied by the wonderful Donald Lee III.
What can I do? It seems impossible to make it through. I had no idea what lied ahead. All I remember is what Ma said. Everything seems so big. This is a grave I have to dig, to dig, to dig. Looking at all these people being free, living in their truth, unapologetically. All I ever wanted was to be seen. All I ever wanted is to be loved for who I thought coming to this city I would find all my answers. Now I'm alone, and sister is gone. Let me stand in her place, make sure she does not get erased. Harlem, sweet Harlem, I want to make you my home. Harlem, sweet Harlem. Now I see what's wrong.
Hello again.
Good evening.
We are here to just talk about ballroom and the St. Louis ballroom scene versus Harlem ball scene. And just talk about a little bit about history. So, first of all, I want to get to know you just a little bit more. How did you necessarily get into ballroom?
Well, it was my freshman year in college, and one of my roommates was deeply into ballroom scene, and he invited me to go to a ball, and I was hesitant to go, and I missed out on the night of the ball. So the next day, he was walking around the dorm, and I was doing homework, and he was doing a chant, and I was like, "What are you saying?" And he was like, "When you vote in film, just to get your chance," and it stuck to me, and I was like, "Keep telling me more, keep saying more." So he kept saying the chant over and over. So the first ball that I ever went to was in Chicago. And when I went to the ball, the MC was just so electrifying. I couldn't keep my eyes off of him. And I was like, whatever he's doing, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm here to do. And that's how I got into ballroom.
Love it. So just for a few folks who don't know necessarily, he said something earlier about a chant. Can you tell us what a chant is?
A chant is like, a repetitive word or a repetitive phrase that is given to a voguer when they're voguing or they're entertaining, or that's given to someone that's walking runway or face category that's one of the categories that's in the ballroom. So when a commentator chant, they will just go into like, what kind of hunt do you really want to be? Or they're going to like, hey, how you doing tonight? It's just something to get the crowd up and to get the crowd entertained and to make, it's like a cheer actually. And I cheered in high school, so when I heard it, I loved it. I loved it.
I love that. So yeah, ballroom culture actually has evolved over the years. Harlem is an origin of some of that. Actually, it even goes back to one of the first drag queens in the world being actually a slave. His name was William. I can't think of this guy's name right now. It might be William Dursley or something. I'll make sure. Please don't quote me on that. But it went all the way from that, and it was a very, very underground scene because a lot of that work, it was not prohibited under law. So we would convene for these spaces to express ourselves in certain ways that we couldn't necessarily be in public. And as we move on, we go through the early 1900s, we move to 1920, which is where Madison Lodge is based, and you have this really great surgence of people wanting to be seen, wanting to find community in spaces that we can't necessarily find in public. And it's really interesting that during that time, you actually would see a lot of the stars in that time and politicians and everybody actually going to these balls underground. And that's kind of where we got the whole masquerade thing from, because they would wear masks so that you actually wouldn't know who they were, because outside they did not want to be seen enjoying this type of entertainment. During that time, a lot of it was built on pageantry, I guess you could say. It was more so about clothes, being able to express yourselves in new ways, and it's a big difference from when we moved to the 1960s. So from the 1920s to about the 1930, 33, that was in general what balls were. Drag balls, masquerade, people would come get dressed up, they would come and get their category, baby, they're gonna come best dressed and come and get their coins and collect their things. And as time has moved on, when all of those clubs got prohibited and they got banned because it became so popular that thousands of people from all over would literally come from all over the world to Harlem to experience these things every year. And of course, and a lot of things, when black people get the chance to express themselves somehow, we find ways to suppress that. So those clubs were no longer, and we really didn't have space to be able to do those things that we used to do, be able to express ourselves. So then as time progressed, we can actually give homage to the great Pepe LaBeija from the 60s, who now has transformed ballroom in such a dramatic way. A lot of the times, it was built by black queer people, but white people actually co-opted these spaces, and then that became the dominant thing. And these queens and all of these great people would go to these balls, but they were no longer winning, and they were no longer in the front, even though they were the originators of this culture. So Pepe LaBeija said no more.
Well, Pepe LaBeija mother, Crystal LaBeija, was actually the one who said no more. Crystal had ran for predominant pageant back in the day. In the 60s, there were only one black queen crowned, all the way from 1910s to 1960s. Crystal LaBeija ran for the pageant for 3 years straight. She was second runner-up, and she was flabbergasted. She was upset. She knew she had won the pageant, but by her being so boisterous, they was not willing to crown her. So Crystal said, this is the last night. After tonight, we're having a safe place for ourselves. And Pepper was her son. Yeah, so Crystal said, Pepper did. He did.
Thank you. I said, so that ballroom is kind of now very similar to what we know as ballroom today. It's very centered around community and houses. And now it's actually more than just being about what you wear. It's actually performance. There's skill, there's technique that goes into it. And a lot of this you will actually get a chance to experience very, very soon. And I'm so excited for them to come and do some great things for you guys later. So, yeah, it became about families. And unfortunately, as queer people, no matter what the color, a lot of the times when we're actually able to express ourselves and come out, a lot of people get ostracized from their family. So we need safe places and places to go. So that is actually what a lot of the ballroom scene has been for people. It is our chosen family, even though it necessarily isn't blood. So Harlem was a great influence on what would now be ballroom as we know it today. And Madison Lodge actually has a little historical context because a lot of the balls actually were held at Hamilton Lodge during this time. So hence Madison Lodge. And I really wanted to create a story that was able to take the spectacle away. I think that Langston Hughes had a great book that he was writing. Actually, he gave very hints about this culture a lot throughout his writing, if you go back and look at it. And he called us spectacles in color, which I think that in the times was actually probably very accurate. I think he was just trying to give descriptive of what this community actually was. But today I see that it's actually a problem, because now we have been able to see the spectacle and we love the glitz and the glam of everybody and we love the entertainment, but we don't see these people as humans. So if we remove all of that and find the humanity in it, then we're able to connect on a new level. So that is actually what I hope that through these characters in Madison Lodge we're actually able to do. Take away the glitz and the glam, even though there's plenty of glitz and glam. So please, if you come, you will see all of the glitz and all of the glam. But yes, we're going to take that away so that we can find that human connection. Because I want everybody to walk away, even if you don't necessarily identify as queer or black. There is something for everybody that you can get from the story in a way. Like I said earlier, everybody just wants to be loved and seen as who they are. So that is the human connective tissue. And everybody has chosen family. All of our friends and loved ones that aren't necessarily our blood family, we have chosen family. We might not call them the house of Chanel or anything of that nature, but that is something that I think that can connect us all. And when we take that away, we can finally see these people as humans and the humanity in it. And at the end of the day, that's how we're going to save the world. By literally taking away color, taking away class, doing all of that and just seeing people as humans and loving one another no matter what. So can you explain to us a little bit about the St. Louis ballroom scene and necessarily family and the importance of community?
St. Louis ballroom scene started in the early 90s. I want to say the first major ball was given here in 1995 by DJ KB Ultra Omni. He was actually the first DJ in the Midwest to bring the Ha, which is the anthem of ballroom, which is actually the anthem of ballroom, the Ha. That track was specifically made for ballroom. And he started the scene here in 1990. The first major ball was 95. The scene died off like in 2000.
Was that the Fanny Ball?
No, the Fanny Ball and the Hustle Ultra Army Ball was two different balls. The Fanny Ball is more of drag, and the Army Ball was ballroom. So the St. Louis ballroom scene died off in like the early 2000s. In 2002, a little star, me, woke the scene back up by even a new commentator. Ballroom is about respect too. In order to give respect, you have to give respect. And if they don't know who you are, it's hard for you to become. We have legends, famous, and stars. Everyone starts off as a star. Then you make your name and you become a statement. So I was a star, no one knew me, so it's hard for me to find work. So by me being the person I was like, well, if no one will hire me, let me have my own events. And I just had my 21st annual ball. Let me go to school for event planning, so I know what I'm doing. Let me hire people to come here to help the city rise. Let there and uplift other people in the city to have their own balls, so that I won't be the only one in the city with having balls. So when it comes to community, I reached out to a friend who worked at WashU. They have a safe spot called TNC, and on Tuesday nights they will go there and they will have what you call a Kiki Tuesday, and they will go vote. So when I realized that, look, God put him in your life for a reason. This is a safe spot. Collab with him. Me and him became best friends. So he's now a legend. He's in Chicago. He actually helped me with finding a lot of grant money for the ball, sponsorships, and venues that were catered to us. So when it comes to community, we are all like one big family, even though we are in different houses or in different cliques. We feel like one family because we are here to inspire and uplift one another and to support one another, because we're a small community. So without the community, there is no scene. So we're very much community for the community.
And I love what you were saying earlier about you not being able to necessarily get hired, so you made your space. And that's the thing about creatives in general. Where there is no space, we go and create. So that's the wonderful thing. And I think that's also was a little inspiration for why I wrote Madison. I experienced a show on Broadway a few months ago. Was it Strange Loop? Yeah. I went to go experience Strange Loop, and I literally bawled. And I said, wow, it took me 30 years to experience one piece of art that I actually saw myself reflected in my whole humanity. And I said, wow, that really inspired me to go out. And I said, that can't be the only one. It's just the beginning of hopefully art that will be able to be reflective of the world that we live in today. So I inspire everybody to go just be out there and just be great. And also that this community also needs your support in a mighty way. We really need support to be able to uplift, because in all marginalized communities, you know that we all go through issues. And if we are all able to come together, I think that we can uplift the community in new ways. And I appreciate all the things that you have actually been able to do for our community. So I'm telling you, thankful.
Thank you.
Thankful right now. Thank you. So that's really what WorkFest and what the balls and what all of that is about. WorkFest was also built out of necessity. I believe that as a whole, I think that a lot of people in St. Louis actually started to see me as a spectacle in some type of way. As that golden, just like the golden child. And I didn't necessarily like that space. I love how I was able to cross genres and actually get into space. But as I moved, I wanted to bring everybody with me, because I can't be the only one. So we created the space for people. As I said, when there is no space, what do? We go and create it. And that is really just what a lot of my artistry and artistry has been about over the years, and it has been so fulfilling to not only uplift myself and heal my inner child, but also uplift and encourage my community as a whole. So I thank you guys for being here and listening, and I really hope to be able to see you at Madison Lodge and the New Works Collective on March 16th. On March 16th, March 16th. Ooh, yeah, you good. That's good. That's nice. So I thank you for having this conversation with me, and I think now, if you would like to open the floor up for questions, we will ask questions about ballroom, or just any questions about us or about the process of the opera, anything of that nature.
And I have a feeling that we probably could take 40 questions, but I'm going to ask that we limit to 3. And stick around, and most importantly, come on March 16th. To keep the conversation going. 17, 13. Does anyone have a question to get us started?
I don't think I need a mic. I was very.
For the King voice. Do we have any history of why the ballroom scene started using famous fashion houses as their names for their collective communities?
I don't think there's history. I just think certain people choose different names that suits their personalities. Like certain people choose houses that fit their personalities. So that's a good question, but I never thought about it.
Yeah, actually, I think a lot of that comes from we're not able to be our true, most authentic selves in the real world. So in ballroom, we're actually able to create our new reality. So a lot of these houses actually mean something to the world as a whole, right? So being able to explore ourselves through this new identity that means so much to the world, so now it means so much to us in this community. I really think that may be, and I would love to actually, now that you asked that question, now I want to go back and go find out exactly why.
And to piggyback off of that, a couple of labels like the House of Lavan, they actually did a collab with Lavan. The House of Mizrahi, Isaac Mizrahi actually acknowledged them. Patricia Fields, she actually will be at the ball today that's going on in the New York City Alpha Omega Ball. Patricia Fields, she attends every ball and she's a fashion designer. New York, a lot of the designers, they do attend balls, so I think they probably love the idea that someone is using their household name as a ballroom name.
Let's take 4 or 5.
So as a complete novice, can you explain the difference between ballroom and drag, but also kind of how they intertwine?
So ballroom was made by drag queens. So drag queens actually started the ballroom scene. Majority of those categories in the early 60s and 70s were only dedicated to drag queens. And and as time progressed, we opened all of the categories to new categories because now Vogue became very popular during the 80s, and that art form became more popular, so then it became about performance instead of being dressed. So drag is necessarily either mask or film presenting people getting up in drag to be a personator compared to ballroom and voguing, which is about skill, technique. But now drag is a category that you can walk during balls. So there has been a huge evolution, and that is a great question, the difference between drag and ball. I hope I will be able to answer it a little bit.
What is your favorite memory performing Vogue? What's your favorite memory? Can you share that with us?
Okay, well, I used to Vogue back in the day. I used to watch Big Boy performance. My favorite memory was, I'm a little ghetto boy from the north side of St. Louis. I actually I was bad in school, so I had to learn as I got older. So I used to travel to Detroit a lot, and I used to wear bifocals, really big. So I went to Detroit and I Vogue, and I had a line of girls. And I'm a dancer, I used to march and dance. So I know I should have won this night, and I was so exhausted. So the MC turns around and says, "Oh, Miss Bifocal Cut, you need a breath, you need some water?" And I was like, did she just call me Bifocal Cut? So the north side of me was like, do I cut her, or do I just go ahead and perform? So I went ahead and performed, and that night I think I got my respect as a big boy Vogue film person, because after that night everyone started asking me, "Well, you walking this wall, or you walking this wall?" So I feel like I put my name out there. And the MC tried to name me Bifocal Cut, it wasn't happening. I have my name already.
I'm grateful for the clarification about the difference between, or the way that drag and ballroom are connected but also differentiated. I'm struck by some of the comments that you've made about spaces that have been historically created by Black queer people being sort of co-opted by others. And thinking about, for example, the huge success of RuPaul's Drag Race over the course of the last decade or decade and a half, is that a good thing? Is that how do you feel about the sort of recognition and popularity, but also about some of these things that maybe have taken away or have it's in some ways some of the same co-opting of that space no longer being solely for the community who created it.
So I will start off with saying this. The ballroom scene, like leaders in the ballroom scene and people in the ballroom scene literally lost respect for RuPaul because RuPaul caters to the drag scene. So when he has the categories like ballroom categories on the show, those are not typically ballroom categories. Like at a drag pageant, they'll have like interview, swimwear, a presentation, evening gown, talent, and on-stage questioning. At a ball, they will have categories for fashion, for beauty, for sex. They'll give out from $100 to $10,000 for different categories. And RuPaul has created this space for the drag competition where they compete in these mini challenges. To win the title of Drag Race, or the top drag queen. However, it's different from it. That's not ballroom at all. It's not ballroom. It's like more pageantry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. But I do believe that part of that has helped move our culture forward in many ways. So it's always a yes and, I think. Yeah, I think that in general, because of that, now the eyes of the world is on our culture in a new way, I believe. And also the new representation on TV that we've been able to see through like Pose and Legendary and all of like these great things that are coming up. And I'm hoping that it's just the beginning of a resurgence of like us actually being able to take ownership over our culture a little bit more. So that is a great question, and I think depending on who you're talking to, you might get a different answer. Because the girls do love the RuPaul. Thank you.
Are we ready for the next part? You know, one more question.
Okay, I wanted to know how does one join ball or drag? Like if someone's interested, how do they join?
Okay, for drag, they have amateur shows on Sunday night at Prism. They have amateur shows at the Great Fox on Wednesdays. After the show, I can give you the show director's information. For ballroom, they have Kiki Tuesdays every Tuesday at TNC, so you can stop by, and I can also add you to the St. Louis group. I can plug it. It's called St. Louis Show Me State. That is the ballroom group with all the balls that are going on in St. Louis yearly, like for the whole year.
The cool thing
So
about
see me
it,
after the show.
yeah, period. So the thing about it is it's welcoming, and the first step is probably just coming, right? I said coming, watching, seeing exactly what, figure out what category you want to walk, where you might necessarily fit in, and the more and more you come, it is the most welcoming community like ever. I actually have yet to walk a ball, but I think I'm gaining the courage to walk. Okay, I said, one day I'm just bust out with it in the tens. I said, but yeah, that's the one thing that in general, that the ballroom community has literally just wrapped their arms around me, especially around this project and being able to show it in this light. I live in New York now, so I go to this thing called OTA like almost every week on Monday nights. And yeah, it's just been such an amazing thing to just be able to tell our stories, and as a storyteller and a griot of like Black queer culture, I believe that it's important, even if I don't necessarily walk a ball, to still be able to tell that story, because it's a collective story. And I hope that we get a chance to continue. And I think there is such a great renaissance actually happening in St. Louis right now, that a lot of us are being able to really rally around each other and like uplift in a new way, and it's been actually beautiful to see. And yeah, like the fact that there used to be like just a ball like every few months, and like now there's like 5 of them going on. And speaking of that, I guess I'm gonna do a plug. Because my organization, WorkFest, is partnering with 10 St. Louis, and we are throwing the Sweet Harlem Ball in connection to Madison Lodge on Saturday the 18th. You can follow us at WorkFest STL just to find out more information, and that is probably like the next ball that's probably happening in the city.
I'm dusting off my walking shoes.
Let me look it.
both. Before I let you go, we're going to give you a big round of applause. Let's give one more big round to Trey and Meko.
All right, everybody, please bring back to the stage Meko Lee Burr with Big Show of Love.
Because I can feel the music. Voguing is self-expression, and we have to feel the music, like feel it in our body, in our soul.
It's all about like